Hello, Tech Edinam fans. In certain situations, it becomes necessary to develop your own library when existing keywords do not fulfill your requirements. The communities of Robot Framework and the Selenium may not always provide you with the necessary libraries for your specific use case. So in this case, Python can be utilized to build custom libraries tailored to suit your needs. These custom libraries can then be imported into the test suites that require them. So let us see how we can write our custom libraries. But before we do that, let's just check from the Robot Framework page. Yeah, so from the robotframework.org, it says Robot Framework has an easy syntax utilizing human readable keywords, and its capabilities can be extended by libraries implemented with Python. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to extend the Robot Framework capabilities by using the Python language. So let's go to PyCharm and see how it is done. So go to PyCharm and let's create a different folder for the Python. So in the Robot Framework course directory, let's create another directory, Python. So if you have other Python files, they go into this directory, the Python directory. So now let's create a file. Let's say my library, for instance, .py. This time around, not .robot, .py, Python. Enter. Yes, so this is an empty Python file. So let's see if it is working. So print hello world. Now let's run the file and see. Yes, so hello world. It's printing what we have supplied to the print function. So hello world. Unfortunately, this is not a crash course for Python. I would give a link to a Python course by another YouTuber, another good tutor. Her name is Nana. She's a really good tutor. So I recommend you watch a video on Python if you want, let's say, a crash course in Python, for example, to enable you to create your own custom libraries in Python. So this is the print function, and it prints the hello world. So suppose you want a keyword to add a couple of numbers, which is not, let's say, present in the Selenium library or the Robot Framework itself. Then you need to create a function. And in Python, this is how functions are created. So the def keyword or the def reserved word, and then space, and the name of the function. So usually you have to give it a descriptive name to match what the function is supposed to do. So let's say you want it to add two numbers. So add, let's say, two numbers. And this is how the syntax is for the Robot Framework. So when you write it this way, when the Robot Framework sees it, it is going to remove the underscores automatically and make a sentence case, meaning you will see capital A, capital T, and capital N, but the underscores would be removed. So this is the name of the function, and then comes the bracket, and then the colon. And we are going to accept two arguments because we are adding two numbers, meaning this function is expecting two numbers. So we can write, let's say, num1, comma, and then num2. Then we enter. So automatically the IDE indents the code for us. So what do we want to do? We want to add num1 to num2. But before we do that, we have to change the type. Usually this will be a string because it's coming from the robot framework. So this is going to be a string, and you can't add two strings. If you add two strings, if this is 5, let's say num1 is equal to 5, and then num2 is equal to, let's say, 70. Then if you concatenate them, then we are going to get 705 because we are just joining them together because they are strings. So we are going to get 705, but we want 75. So we have to convert these to integers. So we have, let's say, since it's a straightforward calculation, we can just do int num1, then plus int num2, and then num1 plus num2. We need to store it somewhere. So let's say sum is equal to num1 plus num2. We are converting this argument, the num1 argument coming in, into integer, converting the num2 as well into integer. And now let's return the sum. We have done the calculation, but we need to return it the same way. Let's go to the register employees and see if we have an example. The count, yes, the same way this element, this get element count is returning the number of elements that match this locator. The same way we have to return. So let's see what the function definition says. See, it is returning something, the length of something. So after getting all the elements that match that locator, it has to return the value to us to be used. If it doesn't return the value, then you can't use it. So so after adding 1 and 2, we have to return the value to the user. So and we can just run. If you run the file now, let's see what happens. To choose. Nothing happens because we have returned it, but we are not using it. And secondly, we are not calling the function. And in Python, this is how we call a function. We just reference the name. And let's see what happens if I run the file now. Let's see the error. Yes, it says missing 2 required positional arguments, num1 and num2. So we need to supply values to it. So let's say 70 and then a 5. Now let me run again and see. Why am I? Yes, still nothing is coming. We have returned the sum, but we are not doing anything with the sum. So we can go ahead and print the value it is returning. So now let's run it again. Now we have 75 because we are returning this sum to be used by the print function over here. We could have just stored it like this. So add, and we have, let's say, 600, then 7. Then we can print the sum as well. So first we are going to have 607 and then 75. Yes, so we have the 607 and 75. So we have created just a basic function to be used by one of our test cases or any of our test cases. So let's say, so this for 2 numbers. So let's say you want another function that adds multiple numbers. So let's say add multiple numbers. So this also takes the numbers you want to add, and of course they have to be in a list or an array, and to pass in unlimited number of items in an array, because add multiple numbers, we can have 1 number or 2 numbers or 10 numbers. We don't know how many numbers the user is going to type in. So for instance, in the first function, we need two numbers, number 1 and number 2. So that's a static. But with this one, multiple numbers, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, 5. Yeah, so we need to put the numbers in a list. So, and this is how we tell Python that there are going to be multiple arguments. So with the star sign, and then the arguments, and then the type of the argument. So we are telling that there are going to be multiple arguments with a type of int. So we are converting it into integer. So the same way, this one we could have ignored the int over here and just bring the int over here. But this is another way to do it. So we are telling the function that there's a list coming in, but they are integers. So let's enter, and we can also say total is equal to, and there's a handy function we can use in Python. All we have to do is write sum and then supply the arguments that are coming in. So we have total equal to sum. So this is a function. It takes all the numbers coming in, and then it's going to loop over the numbers in the list, add them, and return the value to this total. So we could have done it the long way. Use, let's say, the for. So for number in argument or something like this. And then, yeah, we could have done it this way. But as I said, this is not a crash course in Python. So this is just to show you how to create your own functions or libraries and import them into the Robot Framework files. So now we have the total. Then let's return the total. And of course, we could have just skipped this. We could have just return some args, and that would be it. So now that we have the two functions, let's call both of them. So let's say print. Then we have add two numbers. So let's add, let's say 5, 4, and then 8. And then let's print add multiple numbers. And then let's pass in, let's say 77, 90, and then let's say 6. And let's duplicate and change. Let's add, yeah, then duplicate again. And then let's, yes, so we're going to add 54 and 8. And then next time it's going to be 77, 90, 6 and 6, 12, 77, 90 and 6 once again. And then 91 and 6. So let's run again and see what we have. Yes, so we have 62. That's the 54 plus 8. Then we have the 77, 90, and 6, and so on. So these are the values coming in. So we've successfully created the functions. So now how do we use them in our test files? So let me just comment these out. Yeah. So for the same way, what we did for the resources, so we created a document, images, keywords, and imported them into our test files over here. So the same way we can import the my library file into any test suite we want. So let's create another test suite. Let's say using custom library.robot. So let's bring in the settings. Then we have library, and then the Selenium library. And then since these are supposed to be libraries, not the resource like the keywords and the variables, we need to use the library keyword as well. So libraries, and where is the library? We are currently in the test cases folder. So this using custom libraries is in the test cases folder. So we need to leave the test cases folder. So we use the dot and then the /. So we are moving into the Python folder, and straight away there's a suggestion. So Python, and then my library.py. And let's see what it says. Nothing really pops up. So now that we have the settings, let's bring in the test cases. And then, so let's say add two numbers. Then we have the tag. So let's say 2. So we are adding two numbers. So what was the names of the function? So we have the add two numbers and add multiple numbers. So straight away, let's type add. So we have the add two numbers. So as you can see, the underscores have been removed, and then the first letter of each word has been capitalized. So we have add two numbers because it is illegal to use like spaces. So for instance, we couldn't have done def, let's say add two numbers. This goes against the naming conventions of, let's say, variables and functions. So that's why we use the underscore. Then when it gets to the robot files, the robot removes the underscore and capitalizes the first letter of each word. So now it's telling us it needs one number and a second number. So let's say 50, and then we have 6. So we are just calling this keyword, but we are not using anything with the value which is being returned. So let's store it. Let's say sum, and then we can now log the sum is sum. And then before we run it, let's do the other one as well. Add multiple numbers. And then let's say, so let's change this to add. And then let's tag this one as well. Tags, let's say add. And then we have sum, we are storing the return value. So add multiple numbers. Comparing the two, because this is it takes multiple numbers, it couldn't bring the suggestion for us. But since this was only 2, it knows it needs only 2 arguments. So that's why the num1 and num2 came. But this one, it is multiple, so it doesn't know how many arguments the user is going to pass in. So let's say 100 for, let's say 90. Now let's duplicate this a few times. Then let's log the sum over here. Yes. So let me just copy this. Yes. So let's change this to, let's say 500. And this one, let's say 7,500. So let's see what happens after running the file. So let's go to our terminal, and then as usual, our robot command and the I to include the tag you want to run, and then the output directory, the logs, and then the path to the file we want to run. So in the test cases, then we have the using custom libraries. So let's see what happens. Enter. Both of them passed. Now let's open the logs and see what we have. Yes. So we have the sum is 56. It has added the 50 and the 6. Now let's go to the add multiple numbers. So we have 194, 100 plus 4, 104 plus 90, 194. And then we have 594, 500 plus 4 plus 90 gives you the 594. And then add multiple numbers. Again, we pass in the 3 digits and then 7594. We could have passed in even more. So let me quickly demonstrate that as well. So let's remove this. So we have, and then let's add 5, 10. So 3 numbers, 5 numbers, and 2 numbers. Let's run again. Let's go to the multiple. So this one still gives us the 194, and this one gives us 509. That's about right. 100, 600, 4, 5, yes, 609. And then this one gives us 94. So that is how we can create custom libraries in Python. Of course, it's more complex than that, but if you just need something simple to get started with, you can just create this simple one and import that library in your test files. Let's see how one of the built-in functions work. So let's see, where do you have, let's say the get element, for instance, or even a click. Yeah, so we have the def keyword and then the name of the function, and then there's a whole lot of things over here. So it's a little complex, and this, I believe, is a class. Yes, so this is a class, so it's a little complex than what I did, but this is just a simple library you can use just to do like simple stuff. As I said, you may have to be a programmer to be able to create your own custom libraries to be used in your test suites. So if you are interested, you can follow Nana. I would attach the link to a Python course in this video's description, so you can learn Python if you are interested. So you can create your own functions and import them into your test suites. Thank you for watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share, because more content is coming. Thank you.